This conference will now be recorded.
Well, good morning, everybody. It is 9 a.m. This is a regular board meeting for the Lake Stevens Sewer District. It is June 10th, 2021. So we will get going here as we call the meeting to order. And so as we start to do that, there's just some comments that are in order. So let me go ahead and read those real quick, folks. So citizens, staff, fellow commissioners, since this is a remote meeting, there are some initial comments that would be appropriate. As required by a series of the governor's proclamations beginning in March 20th, 2020, the Lake Stevens Sewer District is holding its commissioner meetings remotely using the GoToMeeting platform. While this isn't our norm, we're glad we're able to ensure some continuity of business operations. Members of the public who are participating, we are very grateful for your support and patience while we work through this interim way of doing business. So as members of the public, you've been invited to join us via the virtual meeting format in the GoToMeeting platform. The public comment section of our agenda will be handled in the following way. First, comments, questions, concerns, or anything of needs to come to the board should have been either emailed to the customer service folks at our front office or otherwise received sufficiently if that was through a phone call. We will read those during the public forum. Secondly, during the meeting, anyone wishing to comment during the public forum may use the chat box feature and you'll be provided the opportunity to comment to the board. So with that being said, I'm just going to call the members of the board in attendance. So if you could, please clearly say your name if you can hear me. We'll do our very best to speak one person at a time. So our note taker can take some minutes, even though this is a recorded meeting. So with that being said, I'll start with Commissioner Koshi. Can you hear me this fine morning?
Loud and clear, thank you.
Excellent. Commissioner Stevenson, how about you? Can you hear me this fine morning?
Yep.
Perfect. So with that being said, if everybody could please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So looking at our agenda this morning, we are going to move down to item number 3, which is the agenda approval. I know the other board members have most likely had the opportunity to take a look at the agenda along with staff, and I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be added or subtracted this morning, either by board members or staff. So I'm looking to the pictures to see if anybody's waving me down, but I'll wait for any comments.
Nothing from staff.
Okay, my fellow board members?
Nope, I don't have anything. I'd make a motion that we approve the agenda as provided.
Okay, so there is a motion on the table to approve the current agenda for June 10th, 2021 as submitted. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
So it has been moved and seconded regarding the approval of this agenda for this meeting. With that being said, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And that has been approved unanimously. So let's move on down. There's consent agenda items that are currently A through I. I know that these have been sent out for the board members to take a look at it. So if there's any questions, comments, concerns, or anything on that, this would be an opportunity to bring that up. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve consent items A through I.
I'd make a motion to approve consent items A through I.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded to approve consent agenda items A through I. Any other discussion on that from the board members? Not seeing anybody wave me down or anybody's microphones light up. I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And it has been approved. We're going to go ahead and move down to the public forum. This is an opportunity for anybody in the public to speak to the Board of Commissioners if they have any questions, comments, or concerns. Before I get started with that, I'll just double check to make sure nothing else came in from the public through the front office.
I have not received anything.
Okay, so we have not received anything that can be read into the public record this morning. How about, is there anybody in the public that would like to speak to the Board of Commissioners? don't see any hands going up in the chat box. So that's probably an indication there isn't. So we'll go ahead and move to old business, which item number 6, there is no old business. So we will move on down to item 7, which is new business. The first thing we have on the agenda under the old business is item A, which is a resolution number 1005, which is administrative penalty for unauthorized connections, disconnections, and or modifications of new or existing sewer. I'm going to turn that over to staff so they can bring us up to speed.
Sorry, Dan, you're reading an old agenda, not the one that got posted and sent out. So that item is not ready for this meeting.
Okay, well, I'll have to take a look because I thought that was one that came to me yesterday, but you know, if it is not ready, we're just going to go to item B according to mine, and that's going to be the first quarter financials. I see it's a review. I see that Mickey has taken control of the screen, so I'm going to turn it over to staff.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to start off with the cash investment balance report. We are doing well as far as our cash goes. We have been able to pay off one of the SRF loans, and we still have 25, let me scroll this down a little bit, still have $25 million altogether between our M&O money, our debt payment, and our capital project funds. We have reduced our restricted cash and investments by that $3.5 million in the rate stabilization fund for the payoff of the SRF loan. Is there any questions on the cash report? Okay, so we're going to move on to the 7-month trend. I'm just going to go over a couple of the items on this report that maybe look a little funny for the first quarter. If you look at the plant, the maintenance, and the admin salaries and benefits and payroll taxes, you'll see that they were up and down for the months January, February, and March. Part of that is due to Caitlin. She left the district in the first part of February. And then when Tanya retired in November, she had a lot of vacation time on the books. So rather than doing this big payout, she actually just took a salary for the first 2 months of the year using her vacation time, which actually saved the district some money in payroll taxes. Because when you take a large chunk like that, they take a larger amount of taxes out of it. So that was the difference between the 3 months and why they're kind of up and down, and they'll kind of roll off a little bit, and then in May you'll see that they'll go back up again because we did do some new hires. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, the other one is the training and schooling is up a little bit. That's because we have some construction inspection training classes that were paid for in March. Overall, our operating income is still doing well. If we go down to other revenue, you can see that we had a large connection fees that were paid in February, which was nice. So that helps with our capital projects. And then our net income for the month ending in March was, without the non-cash contributions, was $531,030. Does anybody have any questions on anything here?
It might just be my screen, but okay, there we go. Now it's scrolled down. The only comment I have so far is, legal fees are up significantly. I assume that's because of the ongoing litigation, or at least that's part of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I saw your detailed breakout on that as well, which we're tracking, which I appreciate.
Yeah, and there's a little bit more with the bargaining because the administrative group is forming the administrative union.
Right.
So
Right.
there's a little bit more to that this time around, because we've had some couple negotiating meetings on that.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
The next page is just the breakdown of some of the summaries from the first page, and I'm not really going to go into any of this unless anybody has any questions on any of these numbers. This just breaks down the categories that are summed on the first page.
I'm good.
Okay, the next one is comparing March of this year to March of last year, and the first 3 months of this year to the first 3 months of last year. Our total operating revenues from March to March are down a little bit, and that's due because last March we had a full month of commercial and schools, and then COVID hit, and so those are reduced somewhat this year. Overall for the year, though, we are up $65,000. As far as the expenses go, the plant operating expenses are higher March over March and for the year. And that's due to the Conley Engineering, the upgrading of some of the software for the SCADA system, and the historian migrating from the old computers to the new computer system. Then we have an increase in the training and schooling, and that's the construction inspection training that we have signed up for one of the operations personnel. And then, of course, legal, and that's due to the lawsuit mostly, and with the new bargaining unit. So overall, our operating income for March over March is down by $50,000, and for the year, about $100,000. Then if we go down, let's go down here to the net income before non-cash transactions. If you look at for the whole year, we're actually up $470,000. That's due a lot in part because of the connection fees that we received. Does anybody have any questions regarding any of that?
I mean, the COVID effect's always an interesting one on travel and so forth and some of the miscellaneous expenses, but it's pretty interesting to be within that expense range on that size of budget, $3.5 million, and land within, 100,000 or so. That's really consistent, remarkably consistent. So yeah, thank you.
Yep. So the next page is just, again, it's the breakdown of some of the summaries from the first page, and I wasn't going to go over any of that unless somebody has any questions on any part of that. Okay, we're going to move on to the cost per ERU. Our cost per ERU is up from last year for the, let's see, our operating revenue is up, and our operating income is up over last year, just slightly. And then if we go down here to our actual, what it costs for our expenses plus our debt, and we are actually just over our $86 monthly rates. So it's not doing too bad. Our average for 2021 is $86.74 so far. So, is there any questions on this page?
So, Mickey, let's just see if I'm thinking about this right, just kind of talking through it. So, per ERU, yeah, we're spot on. We anticipate the model, I think, has 100 and, I don't know, depending on the scenario, ranges from 120 to 170 ERUs or something. We added way more than that last year. And so with the growth and the additional ERUs that will be coming in, it looks like that will provide us a little bit of a operating buffer, if you will, on expenses as they increase.
Correct. And we've actually gone, we've reached our budget. We've surpassed our budgeted amount of ERUs from the beginning of the year budget. So this number will, I anticipate it to actually get lower rather than get higher as far as the 8647 and the 8642 go. We just, the apartment complex just purchased the last of their permits. So that's 196 ERUs this year. So
Right.
we'll see the full effect of that for half of a year.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There, I mean, another thing is all this changes as buildable lands dwindle and as the economy eventually goes through another cycle that's not as positive as it is now. It will change, and at that time is probably, or the anticipation of that time, that growth in that forecast is one of the key triggers from my perspective when we need to. We always look at rates, but that'll put pressure on rates at that time when that starts to pivot. Am I
Correct.
okay? Made the main influencer, if you will. Okay, thank you.
And then the next page is just the breakdown of the summaries, so you can see what it costs for each individual line or category per ratepayer. And I'm not going to talk about any of that. That's just unless somebody has a question regarding one of these. Then the next one is just our budget summary. So this goes into our budget categories for the month of March, or January through March, and sees where we're at. 25% of the budget is where we should be, and we're actually at 24%, so we're still under budget a little bit. And we'll go on to the next page, and it actually starts to break down the different categories. So on the administrative expenses, we'll talk about some of the ones that are over budget. The merchant service fees, we expected to be with Invoice Cloud by this time, and with Invoice Cloud doing all of our online payments, they actually take all the fees that we pay now to take credit card payments, and they also they absorb those through keeping the service fee that's charged. So we'll have to take a look at that during the mid-year budget and see where we're at. We're a little behind schedule with Invoice Cloud. They're working with Cassell on trying to figure out how to do our landlord tenants and make sure that everybody gets the bill if they sign up electronically. So that's why we're behind on that and over budget in that area. The other one is the computer maintenance expense. That's up because we have transitioned almost everyone in the office now to be able to have the equipment to work remotely. So that's up a little bit, and that will taper off. The other one is the office furniture and equipment. That was for some of the surface docking stations, a stand-up desk, and some blinds. So that should taper off also. So overall, the administrative expenses, they're 22% of the budget so far. So we're under 3%. If we go down to the business taxes and insurance, the property and diking tax is up, and that's because of the City of Lake Stevens surface water. We'll have to adjust that during the mid-year budget. That was not part of the actual budget. We did not know that that was being sort of paid for through the utility agreement fee. So now that we know what those numbers are, we'll add that to our budget process, and we'll update that number in the mid-year budget. The other one is the operating licenses and permits, and that's just timing. Ecology bills us twice a year, so you'll see that number taper off as we get through the year. Overall, taxes and insurance are 32% of the budget. And then the advisor expenses, and of course the one that's up is the legal costs. So that one will adjust at the mid-year budget process also. Overall, advisor expenses are at 29%. Does anybody have any questions on any of those? Okay, going on to the next one is the field maintenance and collections. You'll see the district 62300 district utilities other lift stations. That's up. The suburban propane filling up the tanks was more than it was last year. The other one is 62309 district utilities lift station 17. That's up. Not quite exactly sure why. Some utilities are up and some aren't. If Jonathan were here, maybe he could help. The other one is the field comp time payout is over by 5%. We had some call outs for lift station 14 and lift station 8, quite a few of them in the month of March. The other one is the field safety 92130. That is the beginning of year safety and clothing that is purchased usually in the first quarter. So that should taper off. Overall, the operations is 23% of budget, so they're still under budget. Does anybody have any questions regarding any of those? Okay, so we'll go on to the plant. So 64053, the plant vacation payout, that's over because when Caitlin left, we had to pay out her vacation time. We'll adjust that in the mid-year because those don't happen monthly, only if somebody leaves or at the end of the year. So we'll adjust that. The next one is the 80202 sodium hydroxide. Although it is over budget currently through March, the plant has done the testing for the magnesium, and you'll see that will go down in future months. The other one is 80505 plant cellular phone. We purchased 5 new iPads through Verizon for the plant employees. And then 80705 other services, that's the Conley engineering that was done for the historian migration and some of the upgrades that were done for the new system. Then 80804, the laboratory outside analysis. This year we had to do a wet testing from the EPA, which is a whole effluent toxicity, oh, I can't say that word. Test that was not done last year, that was not in the beginning of year budget, so we'll have to adjust the budget for that. And then 80904, the plant other admin supplies. We purchased some heavy-duty OtterBox cases for those iPads for the plant personnel. So overall, they're at 23% of the budget, so they're under budget also. So overall, we are at 24% of our beginning of year budget. Does anybody have any questions?
Only some summary comments when you're ready for those.
As far as the budget goes, or the financials themselves?
The overall, your overall presentation.
Oh, okay, thanks. Okay, so then we go to, you will notice in the packet, the capital project that went out was actually through April. I actually put the wrong one in the packet. I've since updated this and sent it to Melanie so she can update the website with the correct one. So through March, we've spent $1.269 million on our capital projects that we have going on. There are a few ones that need to get added that have been approved from the board in the last few board meetings, so we'll get that updated for the next quarter review. Is there any questions on the capital? Okay, the next one we have is the waterfall. There isn't anything changed on this one. from the beginning of the year. Now that March is done, I've been working on updating the first quarter, and you'll see in the April financials when they go out that you'll have some updated numbers. And if there's no questions on this, I'm done.
So my couple comments. One, really nice job, Mickey and team on this. Your command of the details as you go through and do the highlights is impressive. It would be impressive in my corporate world, you know, your walkthrough. So I want to give you and the team. I'm curious. So spend a minute, give me the insight and how do you prep for these? Is it more when you compile the summary and you look at the outliers, you pull in the team and have some dialogues about it, or is it part of the process flow as these things are happening? You keep a tickler file, or how does that in terms of manifesting itself from the actual transactions to the commentary? What does that look? Give us a little glimmer into what that's like, because I think it might be a best practice in there. I want to take away from the district and plug it into some of my ops people at Cisco.
So I just go through and I look at the numbers, and I look at like for the trend, you know, how come they're up and down, and I research why. I go into my supporting documentations of those numbers and figure out why they are, and I just jot little notes down. If there's something like the wet testing, I didn't know what that was. I actually had to go online and look it up to see what it was, because, you know, our little description for that just says WET testing. So I just go through and highlight what I think are discrepancies or abnormalities, or like the ones that are over budget. And I go in and I research the detail on those and what makes up that number. Why is it higher this year than last year?
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
No, I would just like to say great job on it also, you know, right on Kevin's comments. You guys do an excellent job in this. It is nice to see the little detail, and obviously you guys live by these numbers all the time, so I'm sure you're very, very well versed in whenever you see something spike. So it is nice to get that kind of a snapshot, because generally that's not always the case. So good job by everybody on this, because it takes everybody in the organization reporting those numbers and getting you the receipts and everything, and kind of giving you a heads up when we are spending a little more than we anticipate in certain budget line items, but it all falls into place in the end, I see. And so thank you for doing that. And it looks like we're right on target because we're even below. So good job. I don't know if Commissioner Stevenson has anything.
I do. I just wanted to tell Mickey that she's a rock star to me, because breaking down the financials like that, I love it. You make it so that it's just easy to take in, and just great job as always.
Thank you.
Well, moving on, I know that I did see that we have a message in the chat box. So I have a Mr. Ryan Heiser, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, would like to have a comment with the board agreement, which I'm sure we want to go back up to the public forum aspect. Mr. Heiser has a comment about the 116th Avenue station, Southeast station. So he would want to add to that. I think the only thing that we ask is when one of our staff has controls over unlocking that, they just need to get the information to be able to say where you reside, Mr. Heiser. So with that being said, I'll turn it to staff to open that up and give Mr. Heiser the opportunity to address the board on that.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi, this is Natalia Heiser, his wife, actually. So I just wanted to come on here. We live at 1032 116th Avenue by the new pump station. And I just wanted to voice some concern. It's been about a year now that we've had that installed, and I'm sure you guys are aware of the issues with the odor coming from it. But it's just becoming a really big problem for our community. We can't have our windows open because we get smell of feces into our homes. When we bring our kids to the bus stop, we're out there in the morning and afternoon smelling it. You can't walk by the station without smelling it. We've had a realtor out, and he said that the property values of our homes have been affected by the location of the pump station. Also, we also feel like we were really misled, because when we bought our lot, we're 3 houses down from it. And when we bought the lot, there was signs out there that said native protected growth. And then all of a sudden we have this big pump station coming in. So we just want you to know that we have a big problem with it. I know that you guys are really trying to work on the odor, but it's been over a year now. And I believe that you are under contract with someone to address it, but here we go into another summer where it's hard to be outside, to be honest. You know, it's hard to have our windows open, and that's affecting our daily lives. And that's it.
Well, we do appreciate hearing from the folks that are affected by this. I know that staff have been working on our assistant general manager that normally manages a lot of those projects, has been working with the company, so I'm sure they will probably come back and contact you. So I appreciate that, to do some follow-up, and I know that our manager will also do that. So I know that Mariah probably has some information on it, because it is an ongoing concern we have of getting that alleviated for the folks there.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it needs to be taken care of like as soon as possible. We just can't live like this anymore. It's really disgusting.
Is this, I mean, so one question I have about is this the one, I want to make sure that what's in my mind is this is the one we had Pace Engineering do the engineering on and come back in and then do a redesign in terms of the additional air handlers and filters and so forth as to address it. And so here we are having another one. So we can talk through this one more, but if we've taken 2 swings out of the bat in terms of design and we're still got an issue, I think we need to press the button and take a fresh look at it.
So this will be the Lift Station 22 odor control project that we approved with Pace Engineering. So they have not actually done the construction of the odor control portion of it. We expect that should happen late August, early September. Right now, we're at the whim of getting the supplies from the manufacturers in. And so that is the only holdup, is actually getting it actually installed now that it's been approved.
Okay. Yeah. And the challenge of the supply, I mean, I have other business in the refrigeration side of things, and there's all sorts of challenges with subcomponents and so forth. Are we caught up in that, and that's a thing, or is there anything we can do to accelerate that, or is it just when it's slotted, or do we, and we can take it back and come back to it, but just any other color on getting the material to do the job?
What they're telling us is it's delays due to COVID and getting the parts actually manufactured and brought in.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for that update. I'm sure staff will also reach out to the Heisers just to keep them in the loop. So thank you, everybody, on that. Moving on down to managers' reports, it's going to be under item 8. We'll start with the general manager.
All right. Let me share my screen here for a second if I can. So just wanted to go through, typically we would do these in person, but in the virtual world, we want to give some well-deserved recognition to some of our staff that have made monumental sort of accomplishments here in their longevity. So the first up is Rosalind Gork, who has now finished 1 year of service with us. She started out in customer service and, as you know, has moved over to take over our human resources and done an amazing job with that and has made it past her probation period. So thank you, Roz. The next one we have up is Jonathan Dix, our Assistant General Manager, has been here for 10 years, held many different positions throughout the district, and does an amazing job taking over and controlling the operations of the district. Really couldn't do it without his service and dedication. The next one for 15 years of service is Michelle Bauman. She works in our accounting department, accounting clerk 3. So I know you've heard from her a few times when she fills in for Mickey, does some amazing stuff over there, very good at focusing on process improvements with us and making things better, just all around a good sport, and interacting with all the different crews that we have throughout the district. So thank you to Michelle for her 15 years of service. And the last one for today is Kurt Meyer. Kurt Meyer's been here for 30 years. So as far as I know, there's only one other employee that's made it longer than that. So this is a huge, huge accomplishment. We are lucky to have Kurt. He is a very smart operator 3 down at the treatment plant, and also covers our laboratory down there, keeps us in compliance, makes sure that we're doing all the samples that we need to do to satisfy ecology's results, but also helping us optimize our processes by giving the other operators the information they need to know how well the plant's running. So a thank you to all of them. And let's stop sharing that one. So the only thing I have for the rest of my report is, so in June, we did get a letter from PUD that we've received $2,524 for energy savings for the month of June, or through second quarter, for our LED lighting rebate, which was a project the board had approved down at the plant. And so we are seeing those dollars come in from PUD. So that's pretty great. Jonathan's not with us this morning. And so I'll go ahead and continue on with his report. We have 251.59 connection fees paid, and we have 351 permits paid so far this year. And then for the treatment plant, June flows are averaging 2.63 million gallons a day. We did have to pull the deox pump for the annual PM, and what we found was after about 80,000 hours of service that the impellers on that pump were worn out. So we replaced the pump with another one while we get that deox pump fixed. That'll be refurbished and then it'll be installed back in. And then last board meeting, we approved the thermographic imaging. So that company has come in and done the pre-walkthrough, and then they will be scheduling to do that inspection. And then just an update, we do have 2 new staff down there, and they are doing a great job integrating well with the staff, and we're excited to have them. So any questions on all of the manager updates? All righty, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to all the employees with their great milestones that they've accomplished with the district. It's so great to see the good tenured employees that have made a career with this organization. So truly appreciated all the hard work. Let's move to the city report. I do see the city administrator online, so I will turn it over to Jean, please. You're still kind of muted, Jean, even though it show unmuted. I'm not sure what's up. I think Gene's probably gonna dial in, so we'll give it a moment there while he does that. But what we could do while we're waiting for him to reconnect, let's go ahead and we can do the commissioners' reports real quick. So I don't know if any of the commissioners have anything they want to add real quick before Gene returns. Start with Commissioner Koshi.
I just say, Kurt, 30 years on that one. I was thinking of anything I've managed to be successful at for 30 years, and other than aging, that's the only thing. Marriage, I'm short. Any work experience, I'm short. So that's awesome. That is a really big milestone. So it's one observation. Appreciate the financial readout. As we said earlier, you know that it's things manifest into the numbers, and numbers can be dry for a lot of people, but it really is the work efforts of the entire team to be able to achieve that kind of result. So appreciate that.
Excellent. I see Gene's returned. Let's do Commissioner Stevenson real quick, and then we'll get you on Gene and go from there. Commissioner Stevenson, you're up.
I just want to thank everyone for all their hard work as usual, and 30 years, totally amazing, Kurt. So, and Mickey, again, the financials, you are a rock star again. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. And I would follow the sentiment of the other two board members. Excellent work through the entire organization. So with that, let's see if Gene can connect again, or at least get the volume work. So we'll start again. How about it, Gene? Well, maybe we might have you call in. Oh, look, he's got it. Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that the district pays for American Sign Language for Gene, so that regardless of any technical difficulties in the future, we can get the city report.
Perfect. I see that. So, well, thank you everybody on that. I know as we move, we are going to have a short executive session this morning. I'm looking at my clocks, and it's 9:42 right now. I would say the executive session, we're going to start off till 10 a.m. The two subjects, one is evaluation of public employees. I think there might be one other thing, and Mariah or legal are going to have to add to that in regards to exactly what the update is. But I do not anticipate a action to follow on any of this, but with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Brad, since Brad and Mariah are the two that coordinate a few of these things for us. So with that being said, it is over to you folks.
This is Brad, and following on the commission president's announcement of the executive session, the commission will now recess into executive session for the purposes of discussing, the review of public employees and potential litigation. The executive session will last until or up to 10 o'clock a.m., at which point the commission will return to regular session, and the commission meeting will be adjourned without announcement or action by the commission at that time.
Perfect. So with that being said, I do not have any of the controls, obviously, over any of the go-to meeting. We'll leave that to staff to get that in place, and we will go from there. But I do appreciate everybody coming to the meeting this morning. You're more than welcome to join us at 10 o'clock if we don't extend, as we just come out and finish up the business of the district and conclude for the day.
Excuse me, can anybody hear me? I was told there'd be an opportunity for public comment.
The public comment of the meeting occurred about just a little after 9 this morning.
Oh, it did. Okay. I was told it would be after the meeting.
Oh, general public comment is in the beginning. I mean, we tried to get any of that information in front of us. So if there's something that we needed to have further discussion on, what I can do is have you coordinate with our general manager, and we can go from there. If it's something that we need to deal with once we come out of our executive session, we can definitely just reopen that and whoever's joining us. So if you want to coordinate with Ms. Lowe, she can definitely, we can do that. So she can get your information, probably give you a call offline real quick as we go into exec session and a couple things there, if that works.
Mr. Boer, you talked to Brian Steen last night, is that true?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you a call after I'm done with this meeting and we'll get your public comment and then we'll get it included, okay?
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm assuming
everybody, right?
This looks like everybody we need. And then if you want to turn the recording off, we can get started.
This
Tara,
conference
please.
will now be recorded.
Okay, as indicated earlier, the Board of Commissioners are back in regular session. It is 10 a.m. We had no decision to follow on the executive session information that was provided to us by legal. I know there was one question we were moving into just before we went in. There was a public comment aspect where a gentleman was asking to speak to the board, thinking it was later in the meeting, but we've asked him to touch base with the general manager real quick. I do not know, Tara, if you could check with the GM real quick and see if she wanted to read that comment into public session from him, or if he was going to be available before we do sign off, because I think that was just then the question, folks. So
I am asking her right now.
Excellent, thank you. I just didn't want to not enter a public comment if somebody did come in, and obviously we want to give them the opportunity to address the board if there was concerns, comments that they wanted to make. So we will wait for that decision here, folks. And I know that you all like to hear me like Bob Barker says, have your pet spayed and neutered. Mine would be, please ensure that you do stop by the district when you have your first opportunity to sign vouchers so they can move forward, even though it has been done through the voting and the recording of this meeting. So, but they do like to have that signature.
I'm going to have a bit of a challenge on that one until the end of June, since I'm a few miles south. But I could, if there's something that's critical, I certainly can scan and resubmit, or whatever we need to do there.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. I think I'm probably the only one local so far, because I think that both you folks are joining us in a remote as far as the other board members. But hey, hope you're having fun wherever you may be, because the sun's coming out here, so we're kind of grateful.
It'll be 118 on Sunday here.
That's a little too hot for me.
It is
find me like I'd be in just a melted puddle of candle wax. So
yeah. I hear you.
Real quick, the gentleman that did public comment, did you want to comment? Did you have anything, the guy that was in the meeting that met with Brian? Talk to Brian? No. Did you have anything to add? Sorry, they're in my ear. Did you have anything to add to the meeting? No. So the public comment, well, you're going to deal with him outside the public. Okay, I don't know if you heard that, but she is going to talk with him outside of the meeting and then include his public comment on the next board meeting.
Okay, that works. That works for all of us. I just didn't want him to feel like he didn't have an opportunity. So once they speak, it will eventually work its way to us. Thank you, Tara, for doing that for us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. With that being said, let's entertain a motion to conclude this fine meeting.
I'll make a motion. We conclude this fine meeting.
And I'll second that.
And seconded. All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Enjoy, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Happy Friday Eve, everybody.
Bye.
Yep. Bye for now.